Good morning from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well, of course. Right, it's beautiful outside, so I had to pop in and do a couple of videos before I start the rest of my day. And you've been asking me to cover and give my opinion on this case that's been in. I'm a bit late to it. It's been in the news for about a week, and we are talking one of the longest cold case unsolved murders that finally got solved in the last week. Right, where that 92-year-old man, Ryland Headley, was finally convicted of a horrific and horrendous murder of a 75-year-old lady, Louisa Dunne, and rape as well, right? So it's taken all those years, but at least they got there in the end, where the family gets a little bit of closure. But let's take it all the way back. So Headley committed the crime with Louisa Dunne in 1967, right? Burgled the house, raped and murdered her, right? He left a palm print behind. Remember, at that time, like I said, there's no DNA, advanced forensics at that time. That came in the 90s, but there was still fingerprint evidence available to the police at that time, right? So he never got arrested for it, though there was a print there. But the astounding thing was, 10 years later, he moved from Bristol, where that crime was, probably because of the murder, and moved to Ipswich. And 10 years later, got convicted of raping two elderly women, right? And received a life sentence, right? Appealed it. His defense argued that, can you drop the life sentence, please? Because he was sexually frustrated over his partner at the time. They dropped it. He only served 2 years out of that. Look, what I'm also getting at is that most of us know, involved in crime, right? For those that don't, if you get nicked for burglary, robbery, rape, or whatever, your fingerprints, even at that time, because that is still how many people got arrested during that time. If you commit a crime of that particular nature, it's often not the only one that you've been arrested for. So it would be normal procedure for them to match up those fingerprints to other scenes of crimes over with this geezer Headley, and many of us. And you will be able to see that it's similar fact that all these crimes are the same, because Louisa Dunne was elderly. The two women that he got convicted of 10 years later were elderly. So you would really only have to match up crimes where there was elderly women involved, because that's how he is, and that's what his urges were, and that's what he desired, and that's just the way that he was. So there's failings on that side, right? They let him out. So he's been out all that time, right? You can't tell me that he suddenly got smart and never committed no more crimes again. So for 50-something years, Louisa Dunne's family, a really heartfelt interview with her granddaughter on TV the other day, if you want to watch that, you watch what closure means, because they knew no better about why it happened to their grandmother, their mum and auntie and whatnot, and that kind of stuff, right? So 92 years old, the police turn up at the door because they got advanced DNA, because they got some DNA matches from that old scene of crimes at Louisa Dunne's from 1967, and had DNA on him, and only to realise that they had a palm print as well. All right, so the one great moment of disclosure for me, that lovely little police lady knocks on the front door, because they can't really pile in because he's an elderly man, so they're carrying themselves properly, the police. And yeah, can we come in? We're the police, we'd like to talk to you. I noticed for a minute he wanted to push the door shut. She walks in and she says to him, look, Mr. Headley, I'm arresting you on suspicion of the murder and rape of Louisa Dunne. You should have seen his face. It was a picture. Have a look at it. He went like, if ever a man looked guilty, it looked like he was waiting years for them to come. You see, with the human psyche, right, when you do bad things, he might have believed that he got away with it for all those years. But when you've done something bad inside you, you know that it's in there, and you know that you've done it. So his face is an absolute picture. And it looked like it looked so. Think about how his victims looks, and this is why this was the moment he feared the most. As soon as Louisa's Dunne was named, he knew what they were talking about. That's for bloody sure. And he has to die in prison, and so he should. And there's closure to the family. But I can't help but thinking, the police got there in the end. I can't help but thinking, he could have been doing a life sentence because in reality, by letting him out early 10 years later on those two other rapes of elderly women, that defense that he put up about sexually frustrated throws what happened 10 years earlier, it makes the courtroom a whole mockery kind of thing. But they didn't know. Whatever it was, he shouldn't have been able to be let out anyway. If it was today, he would be bloody getting hanged. Surprising to hear that for burgling and robbery you could get 10s and 15s and 18s, but you could use such a defence to get out early from a life sentence. So technically, waited 90 odd years to get this geezer to where he should have been doing a whole life tariff 50 odd years before. All right, so sending special love to you all. That's the best I can do on this case, but I will be coming up here in a minute with you know who. All right, have a great day.